Stop. Yes. Stop for a moment. I know you're scrolling through your screen, maybe unconsciously, maybe because your mind is troubled. But if you're hearing these words, don't leave, because what you're about to hear is not random, it's a divine appointment from heaven. You didn't stumble upon this video by accident. You were led here, and maybe this is the very moment you've been praying for all these years. Have you ever felt like every door was closing, like you've tried your best, but nothing changes? The bills keep coming. Your account remains empty. You pray. You work. You believe, yet everything stays the same. There are nights when you lie still in the darkness, staring at the ceiling, asking God, Lord, what did I do wrong? You don't tell anyone, because you're afraid of being judged, afraid of hearing hollow words of comfort. But deep down, all you want is a small sign that God still sees you, that He's still listening. And you know what? This is that sign. This didn't appear in your feed by coincidence. No, you are in a divinely arranged moment. God has seen every tear you've shed. He knows all the times you said, I'm fine, while your heart was breaking. And today, He uses these very words to tell you, I have never left you. You are hearing this because you are chosen, because God has something He wants to say directly to your soul. You have been strong. You have endured. You haven't given up even when everything around you was falling apart. But you know what? God never meant for you to carry it all alone. You weren't created to fight this world by yourself. You were created to be led, and that's why He brought you here, right now. Not to hear a sermon, but to be called home. Not every miracle begins with thunder or bright light. Sometimes, miracles begin with a gentle reminder, like the whisper of the wind in your soul. Do not fear. I am here. Maybe you've forgotten that feeling, but your soul still recognizes that voice. And that's why you're still listening. Because a part of you knows this is true. Poverty is not your nature. It's a lie planted in your mind, making you believe you are unworthy, that you'll never have enough, that you must live in debt, fear, and lack. But listen carefully. You are not cursed. You are chosen. When you realize who you are in God, every curse begins to break. Heaven doesn't send random videos. It sends reminders. And today's message is clear. You are not abandoned. You are chosen to step out of lack. I'm not talking about getting rich quickly. I'm talking about spiritual freedom, the place where you realize that God is your shepherd, and He will never let you lack anything. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Psalm 23. Pause for a moment and repeat in your heart. He is my shepherd. I shall not want. Let those words touch your heart, because this is not an empty promise, it's a decree from heaven. Once you believe this, every chain of lack begins to tremble. The Lord is my shepherd. What does that mean? It means I no longer have to fight on my own. I don't have to worry about what I'll eat or wear tomorrow. I have a guide, and He always knows the path to provision. When God is your shepherd, every fear loses its place. Every shortage loses its power. This is not motivation. This is spiritual truth. A law from heaven written to remind you, you do not belong to poverty. You belong to my abundance. You may not know it, but you are standing right at the threshold of something new, between years of fighting in darkness and a new season of light and provision. And this video is your confirmation. God is saying, you have fought long enough. Now it's time for me to lead you. Not tomorrow, not when you're ready. Now, in this very moment, God is drawing you closer than ever before. Take a deep breath. Feel His breath in every beat of your heart, and let Him whisper, I am your shepherd. You shall not want. You didn't hear this by accident. It's not the algorithm. It's not luck. It's because heaven wants to speak to you today. God says your tears. He knows the things you've never told anyone, and He wants you to know you don't have to carry it all alone anymore. Let me lead you to green pastures and still waters. There are no coincidences in the kingdom of God, only divine appointments. And if you're here, listening to this, then God is doing something in your life right now. Part 2. The true power of Psalm 23. Listen to me slowly and clearly, because this is important. If you are in a difficult season, if it feels like every door has closed, if you're drowning in debt, disappointment, or loss of faith? Then don't leave this video, because what you're about to hear isn't just a message, it's a spiritual formula, a revelation that can unlock the very blessing you've been praying for. There is no coincidence here, no luck, only the divine guidance of God. You didn't find Psalm 23 by chance. This psalm found you, and if you allow these words to enter your heart, they will transform your entire life, financially, spiritually, and emotionally. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. That's the opening line. Short, but as powerful as a declaration from heaven itself. The Lord is my shepherd, not fear, not anxiety, not debt, not people or worldly systems. It is He, the Creator, who shepherds you, guides you, and protects you from what you cannot see. When David wrote these words, he wasn't in a palace. He had no gold, nor farm. He was just a boy in the wilderness, tending sheep under the burning sun, through cold nights and wild beasts. But in that solitude, David realized one profound truth. If God cares for him the way He cares for His sheep, then he will never lack anything. That is deep awareness. David didn't look at his circumstances. He looked at the one who controls them. Maybe you're in your own desert right now, not one of sand, but of worry, bills, emptiness, and exhaustion. But if you allow God to be your shepherd, then even in that desert, He will make springs of water flow. When you say, "The Lord is my shepherd," you are making a covenant. You are placing God in the position of leadership over your life. And wherever He leads, there is provision, peace, and protection. Once you understand this, fear no longer controls you. You're no longer haunted by your bank balance or people's rejection. You're led by faith, not by fear. Now, listen to the next verse of Psalm 23. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. This is not only about physical rest, it's about rest for your soul. Because when your soul is calm, you can hear God's voice. When your soul is chaotic, His voice is drowned out by noise, anxiety, fear, and doubt. God cannot lead you to green pastures if you keep running in panic. He says, "Lie down, stop, let me care for you." And when you stop, that's when the miracle begins. Many people pray for blessings but never stay still long enough to receive them. You cannot hear His direction while your mind is racing with worry. You must choose peace over panic. You must choose faith over doubt, because that peace is the soil where the seed of prosperity grows. Not tension, not fear, but stillness before God. When you are still, you begin to feel His hand. He leads you through green pastures, the symbol of provision. He brings you beside still waters, the symbol of safety and nourishment. Everything you need, He has already prepared. But here's the key. You must let Him lead. Many people say, "The Lord is my shepherd," but still try to control everything themselves. That's why they're exhausted. If you truly want change in your finances, your spirit, your emotions, you must let God take the wheel. He doesn't need you to understand everything. He just needs you to trust. When He says go, you go. When He says rest, you rest. And that obedience opens the path to blessing. Psalm 23 isn't just a comforting poem. It's a declaration of power, a statement of faith, a spiritual constitution. Every line is a key. Every word is a gateway into heaven's abundance. When you read Psalm 23, don't just read it with your lips. Read it with your spirit. Let every verse become your breath, your heartbeat. Say, "He is my shepherd." Then believe that nothing can make you lack. Say, "He makes me lie down in green pastures." Then believe that peace is filling your home. Psalm 23 is the song of someone who knows they are provided for, not someone begging in despair. David didn't write out of fear. He wrote out of trust. He didn't say, "I hope He will shepherd me." He declared, "He is my shepherd." That's the difference between a plea and a proclamation. One begs, the other believes. If you want to break the curse of poverty, you must learn to speak the language of faith. Not, "I don't have money, but God will provide." Not, "I'm afraid of the future, but God is already in my future." Not, "I'm weak, but God is my strength." Every verse in Psalm 23 is an arrow against fear and lack. Each time you recite it, you are pushing darkness away from your life. God doesn't want you just to survive. He wants you to live abundantly. He wants you to be living proof that He still performs miracles today. So declare Psalm 23 every morning. Read it before you leave your house. Say it while you work, when you feel weak, when you face hardship. Every time you speak it, you are reinforcing the wall of blessing around your life. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. That's not a sentence. That's a way of life. When you truly believe this, you stop living in fear and start living in assurance. You stop chasing blessings, blessings start chasing you. Because where there is faith, there are miracles. You are not here by accident. God brought you here to remind you that you are not forgotten. He is opening a new season in your life, a season of peace, provision, and restored joy. And if today you feel exhausted, say this with me. Lord, I surrender all my worries to you. Lead me to green pastures and guide me beside still waters. Then be still. Let Him do the rest. Because when the Lord is your shepherd, you shall not want. Part 3. The hidden code of abundance in Psalm 23. Stop scrolling. Yes, stop right there. Because what you're about to hear could be the single most important spiritual revelation about money, peace, and divine favor you'll ever encounter. If you've been praying for a financial breakthrough, if you've been asking God to show you the way, then this message is not a coincidence. It's a calling. You didn't find this video by accident. Heaven brought you here because the answer you've been waiting for is already written, hidden in plain sight. Inside one of the most powerful passages in the Bible, Psalm 23. For centuries, people have read this psalm at funerals, in moments of grief, and in times of fear. But very few realize that Psalm 23 isn't just about comfort, it's a blueprint for abundance, a spiritual system that can break the curse of lack and unlock divine provision in every area of your life. Listen closely, because when you understand what David was truly saying, you'll never look at your struggles the same way again. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. That's the key. That's not just poetry. That's a declaration of spiritual law. It's heaven's economy written in one simple sentence. Let's break it down. When you say, "The Lord is my shepherd," you are choosing to make God your ultimate source, not your paycheck, not your job, not a person, not luck. You are shifting your dependence from the world's system to heaven's system, and that's where everything changes. Because the moment you declare, "I shall not want," you activate divine alignment. You are giving heaven legal permission to provide for you according to His riches, not according to your limitations. That's not positive thinking. That's spiritual legislation. David understood something powerful, something most people miss. He wasn't rich when he wrote Psalm 23. He was a shepherd boy, living in isolation, protecting sheep in the wilderness. He didn't have luxury or comfort. He had danger, loneliness, and uncertainty. But he also had revelation. David realized that abundance doesn't begin in your bank account, it begins in your belief. He understood that when your soul is aligned with your shepherd, every other part of your life falls into order. That's why he said, "I shall not want." He wasn't describing his circumstances, he was defining his covenant. Maybe right now, your situation looks nothing like abundance. Maybe you're staring at bills, debts, or empty promises. Maybe you've been working hard, but still feel stuck in the same cycle. But here's the truth. Abundance doesn't start when you get money. It starts when you get revelation. You cannot receive what you don't believe. And belief begins when you make the Lord your shepherd in practice, not just in theory. When you stop chasing what the world calls security and start resting in what heaven calls sufficiency, that's when the shift happens. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. This verse is not about rest alone, it's about alignment. It's about trusting that God knows the path to peace, even when you don't, because anxiety and abundance cannot live in the same heart. Fear repels favor. Peace attracts provision. When your soul is calm, your spirit becomes sensitive. You begin to hear God's whisper in the noise. You begin to sense his direction, and every step you take, guided by his peace, leads you closer to your breakthrough. The reason so many people never experience divine prosperity isn't because God doesn't want to bless them. It's because they never let him lead. They keep running ahead, trying to fix everything themselves, trying to control outcomes that only God can control. But when you stop striving and start trusting, heaven begins to move on your behalf. That's the paradox of faith. You win by surrendering. You receive by releasing. You gain by giving up control. Now look at the next part. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Restoration is not just about healing. It's about realignment. It's about getting your mind, your emotions, and your purpose back to the place where they belong under his guidance. Some of you have been walking through seasons that drained you emotionally, financially, spiritually. You've been giving so much that you've forgotten how to receive. But the shepherd restores. He doesn't just fill your wallet, he fills your spirit. He doesn't just bless your hands, he renews your heart. Because abundance without peace is just noise. Now here's where the revelation deepens. When David says, he leads me in paths of righteousness, he's revealing a spiritual law. Right alignment always precedes right provision. If your heart is right, your harvest will follow. If your motives are clean, your miracles will manifest. Because heaven doesn't reward effort, it rewards alignment. That's why some people can work less but achieve more, while others grind endlessly with no fruit. It's not about hustle, it's about harmony. It's not about striving, it's about surrendering. Your shepherd knows where your next opportunity is. He knows where your next open door is waiting. He knows who needs to meet you, who's going to favor you, and which path will lead to blessing. But he can only lead you if you're still enough to listen. Right now, if you can feel this message stirring something inside you, that's not emotion, that's confirmation. That's your spirit, recognizing truth. You've been trying to fight battles that were never yours to fight. You've been carrying weights that your shepherd already promised to carry for you. So today, let this be your declaration. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Say it until every cell in your body believes it. Say it until fear leaves. Say it until peace takes over. Because when those words move from your lips to your heart, lack loses its grip. Debt loses its authority. Fear loses its power. Psalm 23 is not a chapter of comfort. It's a chapter of command. It's heaven's way of teaching you how to walk in supernatural supply. It's not just about eternal life. It's about abundant life right now. If you've been asking God for increase, for peace, for direction, this is your answer. Let him lead. Let him restore. Let him provide. Every time you speak Psalm 23 over your life, you are building a wall of faith that lack cannot penetrate. Every time you declare it, you are activating spiritual protection and divine provision. It's not magic, it's covenant. The Lord is your shepherd. He doesn't forget his sheep. He knows what you need before you even ask. And he's already preparing your next blessing while you're still worrying about your last failure. So, take a deep breath. Let go of fear. Let go of control. And whisper it again, not as a wish, but as a decree. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. When you truly believe that, your mindset shifts, your energy changes, and heaven responds. Doors begin to open. Peace begins to flood your home. Favor begins to find you. You are not forgotten. You are not cursed. You are chosen. And this moment right now is the start of your restoration. Because when the shepherd leads, abundance follows. Part 4. Walking through the valley, the secret path to divine power. Wait, don't scroll. This moment right here might be the message you've been praying for. Because I know something about you. You've been through some dark seasons. You've faced nights where sleep wouldn't come, where your mind was racing, where your faith felt like it was running on empty. You've smiled in public while breaking in private. And yet, you're still standing. That alone is proof that God isn't done with you. Because if the valley didn't destroy you, it means it was designed to develop you. And today, You're about to understand why the valley is not your defeat, it's your preparation. Psalm 23:4 says, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod and your staff. They comfort me." Let's pause right there, because this verse carries one of the most misunderstood truths in the entire Bible. Most people think the valley represents punishment, failure, or the absence of God. But in reality, the valley is a classroom, a place where God trains warriors, not victims. If you're in a dark season right now, it doesn't mean God left you. It means He's walking with you through something that's about to reveal your strength. Notice that David didn't say, "I run through the valley," or "I die in the valley." He said, "I walk through." That word "through" is powerful. It means temporary. It means this isn't your final destination. The valley is not where your story ends. It's where your power begins. You might be walking through financial pressure, heartbreak, betrayal, fear, or anxiety, but the key word is through. You're not stuck. You're not abandoned. You are passing through. And while you're walking through, God is building something in you. He's building endurance. He's building trust. He's building unshakable faith. Because it's in the valley where your prayers become personal, where your worship becomes real, and where your faith stops being theory and becomes testimony. You see, anyone can praise God on the mountain when the bills are paid and the doors are open. But in the valley, when everything seems silent and uncertain, that's where true faith is forged. That's where heaven leans in, close to listen to the sound of your persistence. "I will fear no evil." That's not arrogance, that's awareness. It's knowing that when God is with you, fear has no legal right to stay. Because the presence of God is not a feeling, it's a fact. Even when you can't see Him, He's walking right beside you. Even when you can't feel Him, He's still guiding your steps. Your valley might look like failure to others, but to God, it looks like formation, because before He can trust you with the palace, He prepares you in the pasture. Before He gives you the crown, He shapes your character. If you've been wondering why life feels harder after you prayed for breakthrough, this is why. Before the blessing comes the building. Before elevation comes endurance. Before promotion comes pressure. You asked God for strength. He gave you struggle. You asked for wisdom. He gave you waiting. You asked for breakthrough. He allowed the valley, not to break you, but to reveal what was already inside you. And listen to this carefully. The verse doesn't say, "I fear no evil," because the valley isn't scary. It says, "I fear no evil because you are with me." The power isn't in avoiding darkness. It's in knowing who walks beside you through it. Your shepherd doesn't just lead you to green pastures, he also walks with you through the shadows. And when he's with you, the shadows lose their power. Because the valley of the shadow of death isn't death itself, it's the illusion of defeat. It's fear pretending to be final, but fear is a liar. And shadows only exist where there's light nearby. So if you see shadows around you, it means light is close. That's the sign, not that you're lost, but that your breakthrough is near. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Those aren't just poetic words, they're spiritual tools. The rod represents authority, and the staff represents guidance. That means God isn't just protecting you, He's directing you. Even when you don't understand the path, He's steering your steps toward peace, provision, and purpose. Some valleys you didn't choose, they chose you. But even that is part of the divine plan, because what looks like chaos to you is actually choreography to God. He's aligning people, places, and timing for your good. Romans 8:28 says, "All things work together for good to those who love God." Not some things, not just the easy things. All things, including the pain, the delays, the disappointments, the closed doors. Right now, you might not see the full picture, but one day you'll look back and realize the valley was the best thing that ever happened to you, because it taught you how to depend on the shepherd, not on yourself. Let's be real, if life was always easy, you wouldn't pray as much, you wouldn't grow, you wouldn't learn the difference between wanting God and needing God. But in the valley, you discover something priceless, that His presence is better than your plan, So if you're in the valley right now, don't despise it. Walk through it. Talk to God in it. Let Him teach you through it. Because every step you take through the darkness is bringing you closer to the light. Remember, the valley doesn't mean the shepherd left you. It means He trusted you enough to walk with Him through it. He knows you can handle this. He knows you'll come out stronger. And He knows that once you make it through, you'll have a testimony that can lift others out of their own valleys. So lift your head, wipe your tears, and take another step forward, because the shepherd who led you in will also lead you out. Say this with me right now. Wherever you are, I may be walking through a valley, but I'm not walking alone. God is with me. I will not fear. This is not the end. This is preparation for my breakthrough. You've been through enough to give up, but you didn't. And that's the proof that your story isn't over. Your valley is not punishment. It's prophecy. It's not the evidence of God's absence. It's the confirmation of His closeness. Because the deeper the valley, the higher the mountain waiting on the other side. And the same God who was faithful yesterday will be faithful again today. You are walking through, not staying stuck. You are rising, not falling. And soon, you'll look back and realize the valley didn't break you. It built you. Keep walking, because on the other side of this valley is the victory you've been praying for. Part 5. The Table of Overflow. When God turns your battle into blessing. Stop right here. Don't swipe. Because this moment, this message might be the one that shifts everything for you. If you've been fighting battles that feel too heavy, if people have betrayed you, if you've been overlooked, rejected, or doubted, I want you to listen very carefully. Because what you're about to hear isn't just motivation, it's revelation. There is a verse in Psalm 23 that carries one of the deepest secrets of divine favor, supernatural provision, and unstoppable promotion. It's Psalm 23:5. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup runs over. Take a deep breath. Because this is not just a promise, it's a prophecy. God is revealing His plan for you through this single verse. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Think about that for a second. God doesn't say He'll remove your enemies first. He doesn't say He'll wait until everyone likes you. He says, I'll bless you right in front of them. That means your enemies don't get to determine your destiny. They get to witness it. They thought they were watching your downfall, but God is about to make them watch your rise. See, when you walk with God, He doesn't have to move the storm to bless you. He blesses you in the storm. He doesn't have to silence your critics. He feeds you in front of them. That's the power of divine confidence. God doesn't need perfect conditions to perform a miracle. He just needs your trust. And when you trust Him, He turns the battlefield into a banquet. The place of your greatest pain becomes the place of your greatest provision. Some of you have been asking, why hasn't God removed certain people or situations from my life yet? Because they need to see the table. They need to see what happens when a child of God refuses to quit. They need to see that no weapon formed against you can prosper. They need to see the evidence of favor that follows faith. Every betrayal was preparation. Every delay was positioning. Every disappointment was direction. God wasn't punishing you. He was setting the table. And here's the beautiful part. It's not you preparing the table. It's Him. You prepare a table before me. That means you don't have to force it, chase it, or beg for it. God Himself is arranging every detail. He's choosing the time, the place, and the people. He's setting everything up for your moment of overflow. Now, look at the next line. You anoint my head with oil. In biblical times, shepherds would anoint the heads of their sheep with oil to protect them from insects and parasites that could burrow into their skin and cause disease. The oil acted as a shield, a divine covering. So, when God says, I anoint your head with oil, He's saying, I'm protecting your mind. He's shielding you from the thoughts that try to steal your peace. He's guarding you from doubt, fear, and insecurity. Because if the enemy can't touch your mind, he can't touch your destiny. The anointing oil represents the Holy Spirit, the presence of God that empowers, restores, and renews. When you're anointed, you carry divine favor that cannot be earned or explained. Doors open, that logic can't justify. Opportunities appear that others can't access, and people begin to see something in you they can't quite describe. That's the glow of grace. You've been through a season of testing, but now God is releasing the oil of refreshing over your life. He's healing your heart, renewing your strength, and preparing you to walk in abundance. Because the next part of the verse says, "My cup runs over," overflow. That's the word of this season. Not barely enough, not just surviving, overflow. When God blesses you, He doesn't do it halfway. He doesn't fill your cup to the brim, He lets it run over. Because His goodness was never meant to stop with you. It's supposed to spill out and touch everyone around you. The overflow is not just about money, it's about peace that can't be shaken, joy that can't be stolen, strength that never runs out. It's about walking in a level of favor that causes others to say, "There's something different about you." And the truth is, there is. You're walking with the shepherd, you're dining at the king's table, you're covered in oil, you're living in overflow. But here's the key. The table only appears when you stay faithful in the valley. You can't skip the process. Before the table, there's the walk through the shadow. Before the overflow, there's obedience in the dry place. Before the oil, there's endurance through pain. That's why you can't quit now. The valley you just survived was the doorway to your table. And now God is saying, sit, rest, watch me provide. Some of you have been fighting battles you never should have fought alone. You've been trying to prove yourself to people who were never meant to understand your calling. But now, God is stepping in. He's saying, let me handle this. While you were worrying about survival, He was already preparing your celebration. So when you sit at that table, remember, it's not a reward for perfection. It's the result of perseverance. You made it through tears, through nights of uncertainty, through seasons where giving up seemed easier. But you kept walking, you kept trusting, and now the table is ready. Imagine it a table spread with everything you've prayed for. Peace, provision, purpose. And right there, sitting in the front row, are the ones who said you'd never make it. But instead of gloating, you'll smile because grace doesn't boast. It blesses. That's the beauty of Psalm 23:5. It's not just about victory, it's about vindication. God doesn't just lift you, He does it publicly, so the world knows He was with you all along. So if you're listening right now and you've been through loss, betrayal, rejection, or struggle, hear this. The same God who walked with you through the valley is now calling you to the table. Your story is shifting from survival to overflow. Say it out loud. My table is being prepared. My head is anointed. My cup is running over. You may not see it yet, but it's already happening. While others are doubting, heaven is arranging. While you're waiting, God is working. And soon, what was once your pain will become your platform. This is your season of restoration. This is your moment of recognition. The valley was necessary, but it was never meant to be permanent. Now, it's time to sit down and feast on the goodness of God, because when He prepares a table for you, no one can cancel your reservation. Your name is written on it. Your seat is secured, and your overflow is coming pressed down, shaken together, and running over. You are stepping into the season of Psalm 23:5, the season of abundance, favor, and divine vindication. Get ready. The table is set, the oil is flowing, and your cup is about to overflow. Part 6. Living in Overflow, the final promise of Psalm 23. Stop scrolling for just a moment, because what you're about to hear might be the turning point between surviving and truly living. If you've ever felt like you keep giving but never receiving, if it feels like blessings slip through your hands as quickly as they come, then you need to stay right here. Because this message isn't just another motivational talk. It's a divine reminder that your season of overflow has already been written into your story. Psalm 23:6 says, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." This is more than the ending of a psalm, it's a declaration, a prophetic statement of how your life is meant to look when God is your shepherd. Let's begin with that first word, surely. David didn't say maybe, he didn't say hopefully, He said, surely. That means without question, without doubt, without hesitation. When God is your shepherd, his goodness and mercy aren't optional, they're guaranteed. Right now, some of you have been living with uncertainty. You've been asking, will I make it? Will God really come through for me? Will I ever walk in peace again? And God is answering through this verse. Surely, not by luck, not by chance, but by covenant. When the Lord is your shepherd, goodness is not something you chase, it's something that chases you. It doesn't depend on your performance, it depends on his promise. Because the shepherd doesn't lead you halfway, he leads you all the way into abundance. Think about this. The same God who created the galaxies, who commands oceans, who feeds billions of living creatures every day, that same God has his eyes on you. And he's not following you with judgment or disappointment. He's following you with goodness and mercy. Goodness means God gives you what you don't deserve. Mercy means he withholds what you do deserve. Together, they form a force that surrounds you like a divine shield. Even when life tries to knock you down, goodness and mercy pick you back up. You may not see them, but they're always there. They're behind you, cleaning up the messes you made, turning mistakes into lessons, turning pain into purpose. They're ahead of you, preparing divine appointments, opening doors you don't even know exist yet. And when you look back one day, you'll realize every closed door, every delay, every detour was actually goodness and mercy doing their job. Let's be real. Some of you thought God abandoned you because life got hard. But he didn't. He was just redirecting you from something smaller into something greater. Because his goodness isn't about comfort, it's about calling. And his mercy isn't about ignoring your past, it's about rewriting your future. Now, let's look at the second part. All the days of my life. That means there's no expiration date on favor. It doesn't run out when you hit a certain age. It doesn't fade when the circumstances change. It doesn't end when you make a mistake. God's goodness and mercy are active today, tomorrow, and every day after. Even on the days when you feel unworthy, his mercy covers you. Even when you fail, his goodness finds you. Even when you walk away, his love follows until you return. This isn't religion, it's relationship. And when you understand that, you stop trying to earn God's favor and start living from it. You stop striving, and you start resting. You stop fearing, and you start flowing. Now, listen to the last part of the verse, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That's the ultimate goal of every believer, not just to visit God, but to dwell with him, to make his presence your permanent home, to stop treating faith like a weekend activity and start living in constant connection with the one who sustains you. To dwell means to stay. It means consistency. It means intimacy. It means that no matter what the world throws at you, you remain anchored in his presence, because peace is not found in places, it's found in his presence. When David said this, he wasn't living in a temple. He was often hiding in caves, running from enemies and facing betrayal. But he had learned something powerful. Home isn't a location, it's a relationship. He carried the presence of God with him everywhere he went. And that's what allowed him to say, I shall not want. The same can be true for you. You don't need perfect circumstances to feel God's presence. You just need to invite him into your circumstances. You don't need a miracle to prove he's real. Your breath is proof enough. Here's the truth that changes everything. When you dwell with God, you don't have to chase blessings, they follow you. You don't have to beg for peace, it fills you. You don't have to worry about tomorrow because the one who holds tomorrow is walking beside you today. And maybe that's the message you needed right now. Because life can feel uncertain, the news is unstable, finances fluctuate, relationships change. But the shepherd never changes. His goodness is steady. His mercy is endless. His presence is permanent. Let's go deeper. The phrase "follow me" in Hebrew doesn't mean to casually trail behind. It means to pursue with intention. That means goodness and mercy are aggressively chasing after you. Even when you try to run from God, his love runs faster. Even when you make wrong turns, his grace finds another route. You can't outrun mercy. You can't outsin grace. You can't escape goodness. Because when you belong to the shepherd, your life becomes surrounded by supernatural favor. Some of you have been praying for breakthrough, and God is saying, you already have it. My goodness and mercy are your breakthrough. You've been asking for signs, and He's saying, look around. You're still standing, still breathing, still believing. That's not coincidence, that's covenant. Every morning you wake up, goodness is already waiting for you. Every night you lay down, mercy tucks you in, and all the days in between, grace holds you up. So what does it mean to live in overflow? It means living with such deep awareness of God's presence that fear no longer controls you. It means walking through life knowing you're covered not because you're perfect, but because you're protected. It means choosing peace over panic, faith over fear, praise over complaining. Living in overflow isn't about having everything you want. It's about knowing you already have everything you need in Him. It's about waking up every day and saying, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. It's about trusting that whatever happens today, goodness and mercy have already gone ahead to make a way. You don't have to strive anymore. You don't have to beg God to bless you. You are already blessed. You don't have to worry about losing what's meant for you. God's goodness is too faithful to fail. Right now, take a deep breath and say this with me. Surely goodness and mercy follow me. Not sometimes, not occasionally, all the days of my life. And I will dwell in the presence of the Lord forever. Say it again until it sinks deep into your spirit, because that's your promise. That's your inheritance. That's your identity. You are not forgotten. You are favored. You are chosen. And from this moment on, you are walking in overflow. The shepherd has led you through the valley, set a table before you, anointed your head with oil, and filled your cup to overflowing. Now, He's saying, dwell with me, and watch. My goodness, follow you wherever you go. This is your time. Your new chapter begins now, not one day, not someday today, because surely goodness and mercy shall follow you all the days of your life, and you will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Part 7. The Law of Divine Favor. How to attract heaven's attention. Stop scrolling for just a moment, because if you've ever wondered why some people seem to walk in constant blessing, open doors, and unstoppable breakthroughs, this message is for you. Maybe you've been praying, fasting, giving, and believing, yet nothing seems to shift. You see others being elevated while you're still waiting for your turn. Listen closely, because this could be the moment that changes the way you experience God's favor forever. There is a law that governs divine favor, and it's hidden in the heart of Psalm 23. It's not about luck. It's not about status. It's about alignment, the kind of alignment that makes heaven lean in your direction. Favor is not random. It's the visible evidence of an invisible relationship. When the Lord is your shepherd, favor follows automatically. That's why Psalm 23 doesn't begin with work, it begins with rest. It begins with trust. It begins with surrender. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. That's not a sentence of striving. It's a declaration of dependence. And that dependence is what unlocks favor. When you stop trying to make everything happen by your own strength, you create space for God to move. When you stop chasing opportunity and start following obedience, doors begin to open that no man can shut. Because divine favor isn't something you earn, it's something you attract by walking in alignment with God's will. Let's make this real. There are 3 levels of blessing: the blessing of provision, the blessing of purpose, and the blessing of presence. Most people only chase the first one, provision. They want resources, results, rewards. But the secret is this: when you prioritize His presence, provision, and purpose follow automatically. The shepherd doesn't just provide for you. He walks with you, and His presence brings everything you'll ever need. That's why favor isn't about what's in your hand, it's about who is holding your hand. When David said, "He makes me lie down in green pastures," he was revealing the posture of favor: rest, stillness, trust. Because God can't fill hands that are clenched in control. He can only fill those that are open in surrender. That's the first law of divine favor. Rest in His plan. Stop striving. Stop comparing. Stop chasing what isn't yours. The favor you're praying for is not found in competition. It's found in connection. Now here's the second law. Walk in obedience. Psalm 23:3 says, He leads me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. Favor flows where obedience goes. It's not enough to believe in God, you have to follow Him. You can't ask for His direction and then ignore His detours, because sometimes what feels like a delay is actually divine protection. Obedience may not always make sense, but it always makes miracles. When you obey, you align with the rhythm of heaven, and that rhythm creates a supernatural flow. Opportunities start finding you, peace surrounds you, and grace multiplies around you. Think about Ruth. She didn't chase bows. She simply followed obedience and favor found her. Think about Joseph. He didn't chase the palace. He stayed faithful in the prison, and the palace came looking for him. Think about David. He didn't promote himself. He stayed in the field until favor pulled him into the throne. The same is true for you. You don't have to chase favor, walk in faith, and favor will find you. Now, here's the third law of divine favor: gratitude. Psalm 23 is not a psalm of complaint, it's a psalm of confidence. David didn't focus on what he lacked. He declared what he had. The Lord is my shepherd. He didn't talk about the enemies, the pain, or the fear. He talked about the faithfulness of God. Gratitude doesn't just change your attitude. It changes your atmosphere. It shifts you from scarcity to sufficiency. It breaks the spirit of poverty and unlocks the frequency of abundance. When you thank God for what you already have, you give Him permission to multiply it. That's why Jesus gave thanks before the bread multiplied. Gratitude is the seed that activates overflow. When you wake up every morning and say, "Thank you, Lord," even before you see the blessing, heaven starts working on your behalf. Because gratitude is the language of faith, and faith is the currency of favor. Let me tell you something. Powerful favor is attracted to faith, but it's sustained by character. That's why God sometimes delays favor until your foundation is ready to hold it. He's not denying you, He's developing you, because a blessing given too soon can become a burden. Every valley you've walked through, every tear you've cried, every delay you've faced, it was all training. Training for the table, preparation for the overflow. God never wastes a season. Even your silent seasons were full of divine setup. Right now, some of you are standing at the edge of breakthrough and don't even know it. You've been praying for favor, but what God wants you to understand is that you are already favored. It's not coming, it's already here. It's not future tense, it's present reality. You are walking proof that His goodness and mercy are following you. Say this out loud right now. Favor follows me. Goodness surrounds me. Mercy protects me. Doors are opening for me. God is leading me. You may not see it yet, but it's already happening. Divine favor doesn't always look like a miracle at first. Sometimes it looks like delay, redirection, or even disappointment. But what you call rejection, heaven calls redirection. Because every closed door is a clue that God is leading you somewhere better. The valley taught you persistence. The table taught you gratitude. The overflow taught you stewardship. Now, favor is teaching you purpose. God doesn't bless you so you can keep it to yourself. He blesses you so you can become a blessing. That's the final law of divine favor. Generosity. When you give freely, you keep the river of favor flowing. Because favor was never meant to be a pond, it was meant to be a stream. Every time you bless someone else, you prove to God that you can be trusted with more. That's how you multiply favor, by sharing it. And the more you pour out, the more He pours in. This is what it means to live under the law of divine favor. You rest instead of striving. You obey instead of overthinking. You thank instead of complaining. You give instead of grasping. And you trust instead of fearing. When you live like that, heaven takes notice. Opportunities begin to follow you. Peace becomes your companion. Provision starts chasing you down. You were never meant to live in survival mode. You were created for supernatural favor. That's your inheritance. That's your identity. That's your reality. So from this moment on, stop begging for favor. Start walking in it. Stop asking for signs. Start being the sign. Stop looking for validation. Start recognizing that you've already been chosen. The same God who anointed David, who promoted Joseph, who favored Esther, that same God is still in control of your story. He hasn't forgotten you. He's preparing to display his goodness through you. Say it one more time, with faith this time. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. His favor goes before me. His mercy follows me, and his goodness surrounds me all the days of my life. That is not just a verse, that is your victory. That is the law of divine favor, and it is active in your life right now. Part 8. The secret place of power. How to walk in unshakable peace and provision. Stop scrolling for a moment, because what you're about to hear could be the message that breaks the pattern of anxiety, lack, and uncertainty in your life. If you've been fighting to stay strong, if you've been pretending that everything is fine when deep down you're exhausted, then this is your divine invitation to rest, not just physically, but spiritually. You didn't find this by accident. Heaven has been trying to get your attention. There is a sacred rhythm in the life of every believer, a balance between activity and stillness, between work and worship, between striving and surrender. And Psalm 23 reveals that rhythm perfectly. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. This isn't just about nature, it's about nurture. It's about learning to live from a place of peace instead of pressure. We live in a world that glorifies hustle, competition, and constant noise. But in the kingdom of God, peace is the currency of power. You can't hear the voice of the shepherd when your soul is screaming with worry. You can't walk in divine direction if you're always distracted, and that's why God sometimes slows you down, not to punish you, but to position you. He makes me lie down. Notice that it doesn't say he asks me to lie down. It says he makes me, because sometimes the shepherd loves you enough to interrupt your plans. He will shut doors that were never meant to open. He will end relationships that were draining your destiny. He will even let things fall apart if it means saving your soul. Rest is not weakness. Rest is warfare. When you rest in God, you are declaring war against worry. You are saying, I trust you more than my timeline, more than my effort, more than my fear. That's where supernatural strength begins, in surrender. Think about it. Sheep only lie down when they feel completely safe. They have to know that the shepherd is near, that the pasture is secure, and that the enemy has no access. So when God says, lie down, he's not being cruel. He's showing you that you're protected. You don't have to fight every battle. You don't have to control every outcome. You just have to stay close to the shepherd. That's what peace really is, not the absence of chaos, but the awareness of God in the middle of it. When you walk with him, even storms become silent. Even in the middle of uncertainty, you can carry unshakable calm. He leads me beside still waters. Still waters represent clarity. When water is calm, it reflects perfectly. You can see your reflection clearly in it. And that's what happens when your soul becomes still. You begin to see yourself the way God sees you. You realize you're not broken. You're not forgotten. You're being formed. Stillness allows you to hear divine instruction. It opens your spiritual ears, because when you stop talking, you start hearing. And when you start hearing, you start healing. The reason many people miss their blessing is not because God isn't speaking. It's because they're too busy to listen. They're scrolling, worrying, hustling, performing. But Psalm 23 is an invitation to pause, breathe, and remember who's really in control. Let me tell you something. Powerful anxiety is not your natural state. Peace is. You were created to live in harmony with heaven, not in fear of the future. Every time you let worry take over, you're agreeing with the lie that you're alone. But the shepherd says, you're not alone. I'm right here. And when you truly believe that, your atmosphere changes. Your thoughts slow down. Your heart begins to rest. Because peace isn't the reward for solving everything. It's the foundation that allows God to solve everything for you. Look at the next part of the psalm. He restores my soul. Restoration doesn't happen in chaos, it happens in quiet. When God restores your soul, He's not just giving you energy, He's giving you identity. He's reminding you of who you really are. Chosen, protected, and deeply loved. You are not what happened to you. You are not your mistakes. You are not the numbers in your bank account or the labels others gave you. You are the beloved of God, and your shepherd restores what life tried to steal. Every sleepless night, every silent tear, every unanswered prayer, He saw them all. And now He's saying, rest, let me restore you. Because when God restores, He doesn't just return things to normal, He multiplies them. He doesn't just fix what was broken, He makes it better. That's why peace and provision always travel together. You can't have one without the other. When your soul is at rest, heaven releases resources, because God will never pour abundance into a restless heart. He needs you still enough to receive. Let's talk about how this looks in real life. When you wake up in the morning, before checking your phone, whisper a prayer. Lord, lead me beside still waters today. That single moment of stillness can shift your entire day, because when you start your day with peace, you set the tone for favor to follow. Throughout your day, pause and take spiritual breaths. You don't need a perfect environment to find stillness. You just need awareness. Stillness can happen in traffic, in meetings, in chaos, because it's not about where you are. It's about who is with you. Every time you slow down and acknowledge God, you're giving Him permission to take control again. And when He's in control, stress loses its power. Here's the truth. Your mind can't solve what only peace can heal. You've been trying to figure out problems that only faith can fix. You've been trying to hustle your way into blessings that can only come through surrender. But when you let go, when you rest, when you allow yourself to be led beside still waters, everything starts to flow. Provision flows. Ideas flow. Creativity flows. Favor flows. Because peace is the open door to prosperity. That's why Jesus said, "My peace I give to you." He didn't say money, status, or success. He said peace, because peace is the foundation of every other blessing. When you walk in peace, you attract clarity. When you live in peace, you attract people who carry peace. When you speak peace, you create an atmosphere where miracles can manifest. The shepherd is not trying to take you away from your purpose. He's trying to lead you into it through rest. You can't pour from an empty soul. You can't give what you don't have. So before God uses you publicly, He heals you privately. That's what the still waters are for healing, reflection, and restoration. Right now, wherever you are, take a deep breath. Inhale grace. Exhale fear. Whisper these words. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He leads me beside still waters. My soul is restored. Say it until you believe it. Because those words aren't poetry, they're power. They're a decree that resets your spirit and realigns your life. You don't need to chase peace. You already have access to it. You just have to return to the still waters. Because peace is not a destination, it's your design. From this day forward, refuse to live rushed, restless, or reactive. You are led, not lost. You are covered, not abandoned. You are blessed, not broken. And every time life feels overwhelming, remember this. The same God who led David to green pastures is leading you right now. He's guiding your steps, calming your storms, and preparing your next season of abundance. You don't need to figure it all out. You just need to follow the peace. Because peace is the shepherd's voice saying, you're safe, you're seen, you're mine. And when you walk with the shepherd, still waters are never far away. Part 9. The Power of Stillness. How to hear God's voice and walk in peaceful strength. Wait. Don't scroll. Take a deep breath and listen carefully. Because what you're about to hear isn't just another message, it's a call from heaven. If your mind has been racing, if your heart has been heavy, if you've been praying but it feels like silence is your only answer, then this might be the exact moment God has been trying to reach you. The truth is, sometimes God doesn't shout, He whispers. And the only way to hear a whisper is to be still. Psalm 23 isn't a story about noise. It's a song about peace. It's not about rushing ahead. It's about resting in alignment with divine timing. He leads me beside still waters. Still, that's the word most people overlook. Because in a world obsessed with motion, stillness feels uncomfortable. We've been taught that progress equals activity, but in the kingdom of God, progress often begins in peace. When David said, "He leads me beside still waters," he wasn't describing a vacation. He was describing revelation. Still waters are where you find clarity. Still waters are where confusion fades and conviction rises. Still waters are where the shepherd's voice becomes unmistakable. If you've been asking God for answers, for direction, for breakthrough, maybe it's time to stop moving and start listening. Because sometimes silence is not God ignoring you, it's God inviting you closer. He's saying, "Be still. I'm working." Stillness isn't laziness. Stillness is spiritual focus. It's the discipline of quieting your thoughts long enough to hear eternal truth. It's the confidence that while you wait, heaven is moving on your behalf. You see, anxiety is loud. Fear is loud. Doubt is loud. But peace, real peace, speaks softly and carries authority. That's why the enemy tries to keep you distracted. Because if he can steal your stillness, he can silence your sensitivity to God's presence. But when you return to stillness, everything changes. You stop reacting and start discerning. You stop panicking and start perceiving. You stop surviving and start walking in purpose. He restores my soul. That's not just a poetic phrase, it's a divine process. God restores you through stillness. He heals what you can't articulate. He mends what you didn't even know was broken. He quiets the noise inside you so his peace can reign again. Maybe you've been fighting invisible battles, battles in your mind, in your emotions, in your spirit. But here's the truth. The battle is not always won by force. It's won by faith. And faith doesn't panic. Faith rests. Because rest is trust in motion. When you rest in God, you're declaring that you trust his timing more than your tension. You're saying, "Lord, I may not see it yet, but I know you're working." And that trust invites supernatural peace to take over your life. Picture this. David was surrounded by enemies, yet he spoke of peace. He was hunted by those who wanted to kill him. Yet he wrote about still waters. How could he have peace in the middle of war? Because he understood something most of us forget. Peace is not found in the absence of enemies, but in the presence of the shepherd. Wherever the shepherd is, there is peace. And wherever peace is, provision follows. Because peace is the soil where faith grows. When your heart is at rest, your vision becomes clear, your prayers become powerful, and your life begins to flow with divine alignment. That's why Jesus could sleep in the storm. The waves were raging, the boat was shaking, but he rested. Why? Because peace isn't the result of a calm environment. It's the revelation of who's in control. And when you know God is in control, the storm loses its power to intimidate you. You might be in a storm right now, a financial storm, an emotional storm, a spiritual storm. But hear this, storms don't last forever. And you were never meant to drown in what God designed to strengthen you. The same God who calmed the waves will calm your heart if you let him. The same God who led David through the wilderness will lead you through your worry, but you have to be still long enough to let him lead. In stillness, you stop fighting battles that aren't yours. In stillness, you stop begging God for what he's already promised. In stillness, you stop doubting his presence and start feeling his peace. Some of the most powerful moments in life don't happen when you're doing something big. They happen when you're still enough to realize God is bigger. Be still, because God is still working. Be still, because the promise hasn't changed. Be still, because your shepherd hasn't left. You don't have to strive to be blessed. You just have to stay close to the blesser. You don't have to chase peace. You just have to return to the still waters. You don't have to fear the future. You just have to remember who holds it. When you live in stillness, you begin to walk differently. You speak slower. love deeper, and worry less. You realize that peace is not something you find, it's something you protect. And when you protect your peace, you protect your power, because peace is power. Peace is focus. Peace is faith. And when peace fills your spirit, lack has to leave. Maybe you've spent years chasing things that never truly satisfied you: money, approval, recognition, success. But the thing your soul has always been craving is peace. And peace only lives in one place, the presence of the shepherd. So right now, wherever you are, close your eyes for a moment. Take a slow breath in, and as you exhale, imagine the weight lifting off your shoulders. All the anxiety, all the pressure, all the fear, release it. Whisper these words: "The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He leads me beside still waters. My soul is restored." Say it until it sinks in, because that's not just a verse. It's a vibration of truth that realigns your entire being with heaven's peace. This is how you walk in unshakable strength, not by fighting everything, not by forcing outcomes, but by being still and letting God be God. From this moment forward, whenever chaos tries to pull you in, remember this one line: "He leads me beside still waters." Let that be your anchor. Let that be your reset. Let that be your reminder that peace is your portion. The shepherd hasn't forgotten you. He's leading you one step, one breath, one still moment at a time. And the more you rest in him, the more you'll realize that everything you've been chasing is already within reach. Peace is here. Provision is here. Presence is here. Be still and know that he is God. Part 10. The Covenant of Abundance. Your new beginning with the shepherd. Wait. Don't scroll away, because what you're about to hear might be the most important truth of your entire journey through Psalm 23. You've walked through the valley. You've seen the table. You've felt the oil. You've learned that peace is not found in the absence of problems, but in the presence of the shepherd. And now this is the part where everything comes together. Psalm 23 is not just a chapter in the Bible. It's a covenant, a divine contract between you and God. A promise that when you walk with the shepherd, you will never walk alone, never walk empty, and never walk in fear again. Listen carefully. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. That is not just a declaration, it's a decision to stop living in scarcity and start living in abundance, a decision to stop surviving and start thriving, a decision to trust that your shepherd knows where he's leading you, even when you can't see the path. You've been through seasons of struggle. You've faced storms that could have broken you. But here you are, still standing, still believing, still here. And that means your shepherd never left you. Maybe you didn't realize it, but every hard moment was training. Every delay was development. Every tear was watering the soil of your next miracle. Because God never wastes pain. He uses it to prepare you for promise. When David wrote these words, he wasn't trying to sound poetic. He was proclaiming prophetic truth. He was saying, even when life looks uncertain, I know my shepherd has already gone ahead of me. And that's what God is reminding you right now. You're not behind. You're right on schedule. You're not forgotten. You're chosen. You're not fighting for favor, you're walking in it. Every verse of Psalm 23 has led to this moment, the moment of confidence, the moment where you stop questioning whether you deserve blessing and start living like you're already blessed. Because the shepherd didn't just lead you to green pastures to feed you, he led you there to free you. You're free from fear, free from lack, free from anxiety, free from everything that tried to convince you that you weren't enough. Now you can breathe again. You can rest again. You can believe again. Because goodness and mercy are not following you for a season. They're following you for life. Every step you take from this moment forward is surrounded by divine favor. Every decision you make will be guided by the voice of the shepherd. And every storm you face will end the same way, in victory. This is the covenant of abundance. And abundance doesn't start when your circumstances change. It starts when your mindset does. It starts when you say, "The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want." Say it right now slowly, like a vow. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. When those words leave your lips, heaven responds. When you speak them with faith, fear begins to fade. When you believe them deep in your soul, lack loses its hold. From this day forward, walk like someone who's led by peace, not panic. Speak like someone who's covered by grace, not guilt. Live like someone who's surrounded by favor, not fear. You were never meant to live small, and you were created to live full of faith, full of purpose, full of power, and your shepherd is leading you into that fullness right now. If this message has stirred something inside you, it's not coincidence, it's confirmation. God is calling you into a new level of trust, a deeper level of peace, and a stronger connection to His Word. Because faith isn't built in one moment. It's built daily through prayer, through reflection, through reminders like this one. So before you go, I want to invite you to stay connected, not because it helps me, but because it helps you. This isn't just a video, it's a ministry. It's a daily reminder that God still speaks, still provides, still restores, and still performs miracles. When you subscribe to Daily Jesus Message, you're not just clicking a button. You're stepping into a community of believers who walk by faith, not by fear. Every day, you'll receive a fresh word of encouragement, a spiritual boost to remind you that heaven is still on your side. You'll start your mornings not with worry, but with worship, not with panic, but with peace. And each message will strengthen your spirit, open your perspective, and draw you closer to the shepherd who never leaves. Because this journey through Psalm 23 isn't meant to end, it's meant to continue. Every day, a new verse comes alive. Every moment, a new blessing unfolds. And the more you feed your faith, the more your life begins to overflow. So take a moment right now and choose to stay connected. Join this family of faith. Click subscribe, and let's keep walking this path of peace and power together. Because the shepherd isn't done with you. Your best days are not behind you, they're ahead of you. Your story isn't over, it's just beginning. And what's coming next will be greater than anything you've lost. This is your new beginning. This is your season of overflow. This is your covenant of abundance. Say it one last time with me. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Let that truth echo in your heart as you move forward in faith. You are chosen. You are covered. You are loved. And goodness and mercy will follow you, not just today, but all the days of your life. Welcome to the life of abundance. Welcome to the shepherd's path. And welcome to your new chapter of peace.